happy to do and what they want their partner to do, and kind of working that out between the two of them. And what you'll often find is that you've one partner who's not listening to the other, or one partner who's not communicating effectively to the other. And by working through issues of communication and listening properly, which is actually a skill and isn't as simple as it sounds, that can then get to the heart of some of these kind of not really low level issues.
And that's your news update at 7:02.
News Talk weather.
Thanks to Ryanair. Bin the Father's Day socks. Give Dad a Ryanair gift card from his number one baby.
Tonight will be dry with long clear spells, lows of 2 to 6 degrees Celsius. Now you're up to date on News Talk.
The Newsround on Off the Ball.
With Gillette Labs. Get the ultimate shave or your money back. Neon Night Edition available now.
This is News Talk.
Hello folks, you're very welcome along. Monday evenings Off the Ball. So much going on. We'll be talking Gaelic football with Colin Boyle this hour. Ulster final delivered. Dublin beating Lead by 21 points, not quite managing to quicken the pulse, it must be said. But Derry 3-1 on Pennos is one of those sentences you didn't think you'd be saying. But Colin Boyle will be with us to discuss all at 7:30. Monday Night Rugby, Gordon Darcy, Rory O'Connor on the way. Munster, welcome back. It has been a while. They are into a URC final. Leinster, of course, facing into a European Cup final all of their own. So Gordon Darcy, Rory O'Connor after 8 o'clock. And the football show will feature the dulcet tones of one Pat Nevin as Arsenal once and for all bow out of the title race. 53106, the text number. We are at Off the Ball on Twitter. Richie McCormack, evening. Hello, sir.
How are you, Joe? You well?
Very well. Very well. Arthur O'Dea, not of the New York Times, but has featured in the New York Times, is with us in studio. He doesn't like to mention it. Hello, Arthur.
Hi, Joe.
So, plenty going on. Derry 3-1 on Pennos. Were you a fan of the penalty shootout? Did you rock your boat?
Yeah.
I think so too. I'd have taken a replay,
do you know, the only thing that does... Two things bother me. Afterwards, Kieran Whelan saying it's not a part of our game. It's like penalties are a part of the game. I know what he means in the shootout, but like the notion of hitting the penalty is part of the game.
Yeah.
Also, they're just
look.
It doesn't look right.
Oh, it doesn't look right.
Not quite. It seems too far out or something. It just doesn't. It looks more difficult. I don't know if it is or not.
It's way more difficult.
Yeah.
The goals are so small.
So that's the only thing that unsettles me a bit about it.
Back in the day when I was a bit of penalty taker for respective soccer team and GA team, and the GA penalty felt like a bad joke. It used to be even further out. But like the soccer penalties are easy. Like the goal is just so big. But a GA goal, no, it's no joke. I mean, the Jersey clash was speaking of things.
Oh God!
Speaking of things that don't look right.
Even that who like. We talk about different bits and pieces, and there's different aspects of the GEA where we've pulled them up and said, listen, this needs to improve, that needs to improve. Little things like that are what makes it look so bush league at times, where because who was talking on the show last week about the floating viewer, people who'd be flicking through the channels. It was Malachi Clerkin was talking about people who might flick through the channels and come across a game and decide to stay there. And God knows how many people listening tonight have probably come across their favourite sport while they were flicking through as a child and landed on, tennis or golf or GAA or soccer, whatever it is. Who would have flicked through yesterday, looked at that and just gone, oh God, it's giving me a headache. I had to tell herself that there was actually two teams on the pitch. She was looking at it initially, she was like, I'm sorry, what? And then you have to squint and see the white stripe. It's just lunacy and just rank amateurism.
In sporting terms, it was a tragedy. It was a disgrace. Like, it was an abomination. It was just so bad. This is an organisation that's pioneering their own streaming service, much to the annoyance of its members, but they can't organise a game with jerseys of a different colour.
But why? This must have been flagged well in advance.
I don't know.
Is it just no one was told? Or is there not a designated home and away?
That is Derry's home jersey.
It is now, yeah.
Yeah.
I felt like they changed more white for a long time, didn't they?
They did. They changed it a few years back. It used to be it's like Wexford, which vacillates between top and bottom being purple and gold and stuff like that. Yeah.
Is there like a GA traditional like stubbornness? Well, we're not changing our jersey. Was anyone asked to change a jersey? I don't know.
That's what I'd be interested about, because they must play somewhat regularly enough that this doesn't happen. Maybe it does happen all the time, but it's just not in a final.
Yeah.
But
and it would depend on your TV. So I was streaming the game on my laptop here, where it's 10 inches from my face.
That's a rough one.
On the RT player. So it was resolutely clear, and that the laptop did a really good, very close to it. And actually, it wasn't an issue there. But honestly,
it got better as the game went on and the sun set, by the way. It got easier once the sun was off their backs, which is just
again
stupid.
Talk about, crumbs of comfort. But honestly, on the studio television inside yesterday in the Newsround studio, I actually couldn't tell who was who.
No.
It was very annoying. But penalties it was. We will talk to Colin Boyle at this hour. Obviously, Dublin being allowed by 21 points did not quite tell us a whole heap. So that's Kerry and Galway who won their provincial finals by 14 points each, and now Dublin went and put 21 points on Louth. So you have, I would say, you're about a year behind me in that you started listening to Simon Jordan on TalkSport, ironically at first.
Oh, God.
And then he gets under your skin.
No, it does.
So a year ago I sat there, 10 a.m, Jim White, and there was a fair degree of snobbiness on that. I was like, listen to this dire stuff. And I listened ironically. And I don't know, somewhere around the 6-month mark, I live and die by what Simon Jordan has to say next. And I think you're on a similar route at the moment. So I tuned in this morning.
God.
Graham Souness, I think, has just got fed up of being shouted at by Simon Jordan. So he has bowed out of the Monday show. So generally it's like Danny Murphy or, in this instance, Martin Keown. Who
Keown was on,
Yeah, gets shouted at by Simon Jordan. Keown's an interesting case because it gets really personal with him and Jordan. It gets nasty in a way that it hasn't with the others. And Jordan will often, even when Keown's not there, if he's in it, like a debate with someone, will say, well, at least you're answering, not like Keown who just can't get off a fence. You just throw these things in routinely. So Keown was in today, and out of nowhere, he tends to get dragged into the controversy as opposed to instigating it. But out of nowhere, Keown was talking about the game yesterday on Sky Sports. Have a listen.
The Sky commentary yesterday, how biased is the commentary team? It's frightening. As much as they're great.
Oh, hang on, and what?
Martin Tyler is a great professional, but he cannot hide that he simply doesn't. It hurts him that Arsenal might win a game of football.
Martin Tyler, it hurts Martin Tyler that Arsenal win a game of football.
We know that Neville's got the problem. He was almost apologising for, I've lost my mind when we should be sending Martinelli off. No, not at all. You go with your instinct. So there we are. As a poke in the eye to a commentator. I should be more respectful. Martin's a great commentator, but please, Sky, don't put him on the Arsenal games anymore. It's really hard. Listen,
Gary Neville's bias.
But we talked about it. We talked about it off air before we came on here. So certain people pushed me to say it. I didn't really want to come here with
Nobody
that.
pushed you to say it. You said it.
Martin, you positively lassoed me out there to ask me, did I think Martin Tyler and Gary Neville?
I think you tell me. Tell me then. Get the Arsenal fans. They've got to listen to it. There's only 60,000 in the stadium, but most of us, there's millions of us listening at home. Ask them what they think.
What, you think he's anti-Arsenal?
Yes, I do. All right, let's get it out there. Come on.
Certain people pushed me to say it. You made me say it, Jim.
I love the little bit at the end. Just get it out there as if I know this is being clipped.
It's great stuff. He blamed Jim White for making him say it, and but he stuck by it, and things got very nasty. So people made me say it, so he didn't want to get involved. But then when he does, it gets personal. So. The best, obviously I wasn't turning off at that stage.
No, you're in.
Of the whole hour then, Danny Mills tweeted. Danny Mills tweeted in, he was out walking
Always
his dog.
great input.
Yeah, well, he was out walking his dog. And so, weirdly, he went down a different route of typical Arsenal, flapping under pressure. And he said, think back to 2003, Viduka bullied you, Martin.
Okay.
Yeah. So Jim White, frothing at them out, couldn't get this out quickly enough. And Martin Keown said, sorry, who said that? A listener? He's like, no, Danny Mills said it, walking the dog. And Keown said, oh, Danny Mills, yeah. One of our finest ever right backs. I mean...
You see, this is what I love about it, because they have all those guys... They're all there, they're all listening, they're all ready to tune in or chime in, whatever the situation is.
It's great stuff.
It is, no, it is, and it's but I love that Keown, that side of him that comes across there is so, as you're kind of the personal element of it, it's just so raw. It's just
it's raw.
You could say anything.
But on Martin Tyler,
yeah,
I think I'm right in saying, Rich, it's the Liverpool fans
Oh, yeah.
Say, like that Tyler is the one who's biased against them. And there's, in fairness, he's very talented. There's a guy online. There's always a guy online somewhere doing something. There's a guy online who mimes the Martin Tyler commentary. And so he captures Tyler's tone of voice, which, to be fair, regardless of who's scoring, is not excitable. I love Martin Tyler, by the way. I think he's the best commentator of my lifetime. He's so good. But he will mime to Tyler's commentary when Liverpool score, but will be throwing his hands up in disgust and shaking his head, saying, Salah again. So it was Liverpool fans, I'd always thought, had the vendetta against Tyler as biased. I think that wasn't the general suggestion. Tyler supports United. Loves United. That's
the Aguero man loves United. Yeah.
He's a Woking fan. I think that's his club. Woking is, and I think he's probably pretty involved with Woking. Like, the thing about Tyler is, and a lot of people kind of go, "Oh, he doesn't get excited about goals or instances anymore." He's 77 years of age and does 2 to 3 games a week. If he's not on Sky, by the way, he's usually doing Premier League World Feed stuff, which goes out to all manner of territories.
He's hungry enough. Again, he's still hungry enough.
He's still, but he's 77. Like, no one's voice is the same. And as you mentioned there, he can't get to the same pitch of excitement that he did 20, 30 years ago. And we all think of that Martin Tyler alongside Andy Gray 30 years ago. Like, that's where his peak was. And I don't know if it's fair to kind of compare Martin Tyler now to Martin Tyler of yore, because like, nobody at 77 years of age, sit back and enjoy your retirement, mate. Just have some family time. Don't be out there 2-3 games a week traveling.
That's from his perspective. Yeah, I'd keep him in there from mine though. Happily have Martin Tyler in a game still. Aguero was 11 years ago.
Yeah, 2012.
He gave it socks that day.
Yeah. That's just what I suppose, that just these things build themselves up and become self-perpetuating almost.
Oh, it's nonsense.
Yeah,
like, it's nonsense. Trivia question: who was the co-commentator on the day of the Aguero?
Do you know, I was on a train. I wasn't watching the match.
Yeah, but you may have seen the clip since.
Once or twice. Does anyone else talk?
That's what I mean.
Oh, wait a minute.
It is the most.
Niall Quinn.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't remember that.
Only a New York Times contributor would be able to pull that one out from.
I'd heard of that. I don't remember him on it though.
It goes down as the most generous piece of broadcasting, I would say, because I think other co-coms would have jumped right all over that moment, and Quinn had the good grace to say, "Martin, take it away."
Maybe that's not what. Maybe that's why we've not heard much of Niall Quinn co-commentator since.
Well, maybe, but I thought. Kudos to Quinn in that commentary clip.
Because I remember, what was it? De Bruyne's goal last week for City in the Champions League? Andy Townsend, I think, was on the live score stream of it I was watching.
Right.
And he jumps right across. I can't remember who was doing the main one, but he jumps with an almost orgasmic in there, Gary Neville-esque. With the manner of the strike. And you just need to, if you're a co-com, sit back. Let the boss man have it. And if Kenny Cunningham is listening, we are doing West Ham and Leeds together on Sunday. So just bear that in mind.
Let Richie have his moment.
Yeah, exactly. Give me my Aguero moment as Leeds go down.
The news round is brought to you with Gillette Labs. Get the ultimate shave or your money back. Neon Night Edition is available now. So let's get into it then. There are games this evening, both domestically and Premier League, Richie.
Surely are, yeah. SSE Electricity Premier Division leaders Shamrock Rovers are looking to extend their unbeaten run to 13 matches tonight. They welcome Dublin rivals St Pat's to Tallaght Stadium. Lee Grace replaces Sean Hoare in the Rovers' defence. Jack Byrne is restored to their midfield, along with Richie Towell, and Neil Ferrugia and Rory Gaffney come into their front line. Interim Pats boss John Daly brings in Tom Gravosky, Jason McClelland and Owen Doyle following Friday's win at Drogheda. Meanwhile, second place fourth at the Ryan McBride Brandywell. Derry City host Dundalk. Into the Derry starting 11 come Ronan Boyce, Jordan McAneff, Brandon and Cian Kavanagh. Liverpool, meanwhile, looking to keep the pressure on the top four with games running out in the Premier League. Jurgen Klopp's side go to relegation threatened Leicester tonight. Johnny Evans makes a first start for Leicester since October. He's had plenty of calf injuries since then. Also into their team comes James Vardy. Alisson starts up front for Liverpool, back four, although midfielder, of course, right back in Trent Alexander-Arnold, Ibrahim Konate, Virgil van Dijk and Andy Robertson. A midfield trio of Fabinho, Jordan Henderson and Curtis Jones. Luis Diaz, Mo Salah and Cody Gakpo are their front three. Kick-off at the King Power is at 8:00.
Anonymous text in, shorts were different colour. I know.
I don't think that fixes much.
I mean, when you're explaining, and that's your main argument in favour of what happened, you're losing, I think. And Ken says Kildare under-20s goalkeeper played in a bib in the All-Ireland final because they didn't know what colour Sligo would play in. It's interesting. I mean, fair enough, 20s level, but senior level, I think, should be arranged in advance.
I don't know what other colour Sligo would have.
You say 20s level. You say 20s level, like it's still like a major inter-county competition.
And I'm being very generous. Like, it shouldn't be playing in a bib. Like, it shouldn't be in a bib.
All he's short of doing is putting on a tracksuit top and just say, let's crack on, lads.
What's this New York Times business? Well, Arthur...
who asked you that?
Has literally written the book on Limerick Hurley.
Nobody asked you that.
And he was quoted in a piece in the New York Times on Limerick Hurley, where they referred to County Offaly as Offaly County.
Well, there are certain stylistic guides.
It's different, yeah. Beaten by Offaly County in the 1994.
Have you ever seen that
final.
That pedant on Twitter, the kind of with the grammatical stuff? It's like New York typos or New York Times typos. He's a guy. He's definitely been interviewed somewhere.
Okay.
But he just like will go through everything that's put out and find, like, it's incredible the array of errors that are there.
There's a guy who I must give him his dues, actually, because I suspect he's wondering if I've ever seen his letters. He will handwrite me. Well, you know this.
Oh
no. He will handwrite me a letter. Oh, I don't know, every 6 months. And to his credit now, like avid listeners, so listening now, and it's not with hostility. I say this. It's
oh, thank God.
Just come up, but
with fear.
Fear. He will write me a letter with all of my grammatical errors from the previous 6 months laid out and corrected in ballpoint pen.
Green ballpoint pen, my chance.
I must give him a ring someday. He puts his number on it as well, and you know, I make my fair share of grammatical errors. Talking live, it's easily done as opposed to having the time to reflect on a written piece.
That could go anywhere.
Yeah,
it really could go either way. It could be fascinating. It's worth. I mean, you'll die wondering.
Every 6 months, I get the full shebang. So I should keep it actually and read out my mistakes. Some
bring in the list.
Absolute doozies in there. Like, I'd be mortified reading it. I can't believe I said that. It's amazing what happens, you know.
It's harsh though. It is. You're not talking. It is.
Of course, it's harsh.
Kind of colloquial elements to it and everything, and it's not as straightforward as writing down. Like.
It's amazing sometimes. It does tend to arise more so when you're tired. Your misspeaks. Is that grammatically correct? Your misspoken words.
Find out in 6 months.
I will. And it's only after you listen back to yourself and you think, how did I say that? There was one, I was listening back to a chat with Pat Nevin from a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about Trent Alexander-Arnold's move into midfield. And so I said, we'll turn to Anfield. Pat, Pep Guardiola, he's looked at Trent Alexander-Arnold and he's moved him into midfield. And it wouldn't have occurred to me at all I had said Pep Guardiola instead of Jurgen Klopp.
Oh, that's a harsh mistake. Now, that's not even a grammatical. He's just picking up those kind of errors.
No, I picked that one up.
Oh, sorry, okay. But
no, he hits me with grammar.
Okay, because if it's just slips of the tongue, then that's incredibly
slips
harsh.
of the tongue are even interesting. And it's funny that you listen to it and you're like, oh my God, I'm such an idiot. But there you go.
Yeah, I often find listening to those things when you hear it, if you're listening to a podcast or whatever, and that type of mistake is made where you hear it and they don't pick up on it, I'm like, I wonder how long it'll be now. Are they going to acknowledge it? Will they come back to it?
Yeah.
And then they don't, you know. But that's...
let it go, I think.
Let it go.
We will be talking to Gordon Darcy, Rory O'Connor after 8 o'clock, reflecting on brilliant win for Munster. I mean, it was welcome back Munster, kind of a vibe to the Aviva Stadium. And there is team news. Leinster had press conferences today, I think, or press conference today. Richie, Stuart Lancaster speaking. So good news on the left wing front.
Yeah, there is. James Lowe could return to the Leinster side for Saturday's Heineken Champions Cup final with La Rochelle. The Ireland winger has been out with a calf injury since the quarter-final win over Leicester. Scott Penny is also back in the mix, having completed return-to-play protocols, but Will Connors is out with a head injury of his own. Win, lose or draw, Saturday will be Stuart Lancaster's final game with Leinster before he takes over at Racing 92. He was asked today how Leinster can pick themselves up after that Munster defeat.
Well, you've got to get from what's the problem to what's the solution as quickly as you can. So obviously, the first thing you do in the change room is address, initial feelings and try and give them some form of understanding about what happened and why it happened, but also some clarity of what's going to come next. So the review is important. How you construct the review as a coach, how you put the analysis together to give them solutions as to what happened. reflecting on the positive parts of the game. It was an amazing game of rugby, wasn't it? I mean, to be there, to go 44 minutes ball in play, two great teams going at it. So it's not dwelling on all the negatives, it's making sure you draw the broad lessons out of what we can do better, and then applying it into, obviously, which is this week, which is a huge week for us. I think we sumo as well. We have the phrase sumo, shut up, move on, and you have to put that away. You have to put it to bed, and you can't drag it around, because if you spend all your time looking backwards, then you can't see what's coming in front of you, and there's a big chance coming this weekend.
There sure is. So we chatted to Rory and Gordon earlier on. They both are tipping La Rochelle to beat Leinster. Yeah. Although Gordon said my head says La Rochelle, but my heart says Leinster, and I'm going with my heart. But frankly, I'll be honest.
Who makes that decision?
Yeah, I think I'm going to listen more to his head. And Rory said very hard to call, but slightly leaning towards La Rochelle. So it's going to be an amazing final. Strange to think we're in the final week of Johnny Sexton at Leinster. I know he's been injured, so it kind of feels like he's gone a bit anyway. But final week of the Sexton-Lancaster era. Potentially Stuart Lancaster's last Leinster press conference there.
How will you remember it?
It is like the most scoreboardy journalism thing to say, but I think it will be defined by Saturday. If they win on Saturday, then you remember it as consistency, very fruitful, 2 European Cups, a golden era. If they don't win, you remember it as consistent excellence and didn't win what they should have, and for some reason fell at the crucial stages. And the uncharitable thing to say about the team is when, they got a rare punch in the face, to paraphrase Mike Tyson. They didn't respond in those bigger games, and so a sense of underachievement by the standards that they set for the majority of the season.
That's more a reflection on Lancaster than Sexton, though, presumably. I mean, his career has been overall as a whole, like I know the last few years, but Sexton as a whole is kind of it's nothing. But for Lancaster, this is kind of
the Lancaster era, I suppose. Yeah, okay. That from 2018, obviously Sexton predates that by a considerable period, not least in 2009. Sexton, Leinster, I mean, when he was there, they were off the charts good. When he went to Racing, they lost their way a bit and came back, and he straightened them out. I mean, he's beyond legendary. He's like the cultural driving force probably of any player in there. I know like Leo Cullen and Shane Jennings are credited with changing things when they come back from Leicester in a big way, and Cheika gets his dues massively on that front as well. But I think in terms of day in, day out excellence, Johnny Sexton's probably, they'd all point to him as being a cut above. So I don't know.
Do you think they'll drop with him gone? Even say maybe, if you're speaking that way, there's going to be a drop, but a perceptible drop.
I do, yeah. I think James Ryan was speaking maybe a year ago. There was some landmark. There's at Sexton's age, there's a landmark every month, and so they get asked about him. And he was talking in the context of Sexton, so only meant it as a good thing. But he said, even in training, when he's there, everybody's better.
Yeah.
And through that prism, you say, God, Sexton's amazing. But through the post-Sexton era prism, you would say, well, that doesn't sound good.
No. So
yeah, I think there'll be a drop. I think they'll always be competitive, and they're so far ahead of most in the URC that they'll still win things. But you'd be worried in his absence, because he's just so influential.
Well, that makes, I suppose, the timing of Munster's win all the more interesting.
Yeah.
In terms of if they have reduced the gap somewhat, even on whatever small way. Obviously, they're nowhere close, but you know what I mean. That's
going in the right direction, and maybe Leinster coming back a touch. Yeah. So Richie, Nicola Gallagher was interviewed in the Sunday Independent yesterday, and as part of that interview, I suppose maybe the most newsworthy aspect of that interview, she said that her father Jerry had sent an email to the Derry County Board to outline the alleged abuse against his daughter, and that Fermanagh County Board had been informed as well of the situation, and in their eyes had failed to act, failed to do anything. So both county boards have responded in just the last couple of hours.
Yeah, the last 24 hours for Fermanagh GAA say they never received any official complaint about Rory Gallagher while he was in charge there. In that interview at the Sunday Independent, his estranged wife Nicola claimed both Fermanagh and Derry knew of the domestic abuse she alleged in a social media post last week. Gallagher stepped back from the Derry manager's job on Friday night, saying he was doing so to protect their children. In a statement, he said the allegations were dealt with at the time by the relevant authorities. Derry too say they were unaware of these allegations until they emerged last week.
Okay, we'll touch on that story in a few moments' time. You have detail on the football side of things for Derry?
Yeah, without Gallagher, Derry secured back-to-back Ulster titles yesterday. They beat Armagh on penalties after the sides finished level in Clonus. Derry's win means they go into Group 4 of the All-Ireland Championship, along with Monaghan, Donegal and Clare. Armagh drop into Group 2, their opening game against Westmeath at the end of this month. They will also play Galway and Tyrone. Elsewhere yesterday, Dublin's 13th consecutive Leinster title came via a 5-21 to 15-point hammering of Louth at Croke Park. Speaking afterwards, Dublin manager Desi Farrell says the provincial system needs addressing urgently.
The GAA won't need me to tell them this, of course. You know, for years I've been banging that particular drum, and look, I get it, it's quite political, and provincial councils have been established a long time and feel they have a role and responsibility, and that their contribution is important to the GAA, and while that is definitely the case, I think it's probably time to really have a proper review of the competition and see who does this benefit, these big wins or big discrepancies between teams, and is there a better mixture, you know? So my tune hasn't changed on that in a number of years, but this year is slightly different in terms of we're now going to step into the real competition, I think, and that's going to be very interesting and very exciting. So it's hard to accommodate everybody, I get that, and I'm sure it's very much on the GAA and the Central Council and Congress's own radar in terms of what to do with the provincial competitions, and it's something I'm sure they're going to look at.
Yeah, it's tricky, Richie, because obviously 21-point defeat, 14-point defeat in Munster, 14-point defeat in Connacht. I guess Connacht is a bit more alive when Galway and Mayo come into contact, but Munster feels in serious trouble. Leinster dead as a doornail, and yet text in says, lads, worth saying as well, Ulster final was a fantastic occasion, you know, and yeah, it really was. So what do you do when 2.5 of the provinces are on life support, if not dead, and yet the Ulster Championship is thriving, and I suspect none of those counties would want to see it go. I don't really know what you do on that front.
Yeah, I don't think there is an easy solution because there's so many different parents to these problems. We talked about it before when we were speaking about Meath and they're dropping to the Tailteann Cup, and that they probably haven't harnessed the population surge that there's been in that county. There are other counties within Leinster that in different ways haven't necessarily helped their senior football sides along the way, and yet Dublin are obviously reaping the benefits of their massive population, of the funding that they have in place, and all of the other natural benefits that come from being a capital city. Like there is, I don't think there's any saving the Leinster Championship, barring a complete collapse of just unimaginable calamitous proportions in Dublin. That's the only thing that would level the playing field there. So that certainly needs addressing. Whether it needs addressing in isolation, I don't know. And because Connacht is so small in comparative terms. Similarly, probably Munster too. And then Ulster's competitive. I don't know if there's a quick fix. I don't think there's even a slow fix to this one, to be honest with you. I think they probably need to, in general, rehouse the provincial championships and maybe decouple them for once and for all from the All-Ireland Championships. Let them have them be their own thing. Similar to the Mick Foley. I don't know if you read Mick Foley's piece yesterday in the papers. He was saying about perhaps and it seems so glaringly obvious, perhaps the solution for hurling zills. Why is it still married to the football championship in terms of timing. It's those kind of things that maybe you kind of need to think of the bigger outside the box kind of thoughts, especially to do with the provincial championships, because Leinster can't keep going like this, because there's no point to it. Like, who would want to show up? And ultimately it's the counties that are going to suffer, because nobody's going to want to go to the matches, because if the matches serve no purpose and if they serve no outcome, only to, you know, add another trophy to Dublin's groaning cabinet.
Yeah.
What's the point in going?
Yeah. 13 in a row. Who'll forget it? We are out of time. Thank you very much.
Nice of them.
Your chance to win big. News Talk's Cash Machine.
Cash Machine's been reloaded. The new number is €21,872.36. Text play to 57557. Get your entry in by 3 o'clock tomorrow. And then across the Go Loud network of stations, Barry Dunn will make the call. If your phone rings, answer within 5 rings, the exact amount in your own cents, and the cash is yours. So remember, the new amount is €21,872.36. Over 18s only. Text cost €2.50. And you're playing across the Go Loud network of stations. Terms and conditions on newstalk.com. Colin Boyle with us next.
The Newsround on Off the Ball.
With Gillette Labs. Get the ultimate shave or your money back. Neon Night Edition available now.
I'm Louise Cooney and I'm here to tell you about the new season of my podcast Open Book, which is out now.